Alaska, land swaps, Europe in a panic, Zelensky panicking. What is going on? Assalamu alaikum and welcome. This is the only way up. So we've just had the summit in Alaska, Trump, Putin, peace deals, ceasefires, land swaps, Europe in a panic. What is going on?
Yes, I'm Shani. Hope you're well. So yeah, it's very interesting timing. We are, I think, 3.5 years now into the Ukraine war. If you remember, the Europeans and President Biden, very anti Russia, very pro Ukraine. We're going to see this to the end, no matter how long it takes. And once Trump came to power, and even on his election campaign, he was like, I'm going to finish this war, solve it within 24 hours. And what we've seen since then is he's effectively adopted the Russian view on the issue. He even blamed Ukraine for starting the war. So what you see now is this Alaska summit came in the context of a few indirect talks and a few conferences between lower officials from both countries, America and Russia, to really get to a point where they come to a resolution on the war. Probably the most interesting thing about the Alaska summit is nobody from Ukraine was there. So the war is in Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine. The Europeans and the West are supporting Ukraine, but no one from Ukraine was at the negotiating table. And I think that's quite an important point. Ukraine doesn't really have a say in the outcome. In fact, they're on the sidelines shouting. And now that Trump has reduced arms transfers to Russia, to Ukraine, and he's stopped the funding, Ukraine really has no choice. Now, what seems to be going on here is Trump has accepted Russia's talking points, and Russia's effectively saying the land we've taken, we get to keep, and there should be no membership for Ukraine in NATO and the EU. And Trump has accepted these points. Now they need to formalize it. Obviously, the Europeans aren't very happy with this, and the Ukrainians aren't really happy with this, but the Ukrainians really have no say. The Europeans, unless they're going to take on the burden of fighting Russia, unless they're prepared to rapidly increase their defense production and aid Ukraine, really there's nothing much they can do apart from shout from the sidelines as well. So this begs the question, why is effectively America supporting the Russian position? And that's because the whole Ukraine war, for America, the Ukrainians are Europe's Kurds. The Kurds were used in Iraq, they've been used in the Middle East for America to achieve other things. Ukraine is being used to achieve other things as well. And mainly, this is about getting some sort of deal with Russia, getting Russia on America's side. And then this allows America to really deal with China on its own. And the Americans have been quite open that they see this big threat from an alliance between China and Russia. So that's why you find that the talks are taking a long time, because there are points that they need to negotiate. But probably the most important thing is, we're recording this on Sunday morning, so the conference is now done. America's not in the driving seat. Russia can turn around and say, well, we're not happy with what you're offering. We're going to continue the war. Russia has the capacity. It has the capability. The front lines, Ukraine, is crumbling. So really, Russia is in the driving seat. It doesn't have to get a deal. It can walk away. America needs to get a deal in order to deal with other issues around the world. And as I mentioned, the Ukrainians and the Europeans, they're not really even at the negotiating table. So that's what's going on here. It seems from the press conference, what's happened is nothing major's come out of it. But I think even this conference, it was really the beginning of a process. It's just one conference and there's going to be many others. So the talking points between America and Russia have started. I think the way the media is reporting it is this is a conference about a ceasefire, and a ceasefire hasn't been agreed because the Russians are being maximalist. And really, what we're going to bear in mind here is America isn't actually on Ukraine's side here. America has other global objectives it's pursuing, and that's why it's negotiating with Russia. And that's why it's interesting the Europeans and the Ukrainians weren't even invited to this.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this whole situation, there seems to be three main players: Russia, USA, and the so-called coalition of the willing, which is Europe. But within that, there's the hierarchy of Europe. I think Ukraine is not even a player; it's more of just a territory. It's just the board upon which this game is being played. So the three parties, and you can see this is the natural way it was going to fold out. The history of Europe, the history of the Western alliances, the Western countries has been one of frenemies, with the emphasis on enemies, constantly looking over each other's shoulders, constantly invading, constantly sacrificing thousands and thousands and thousands of people to keep their borders, to keep territory, to invade, to take resources. And though I think the last 40 years, you could say, is an anomaly in European terms, of there's not been no major wars until Ukraine kicked off. Before that, it is a constant tale of invasions, takeovers, reshaping borders, alliances, breaking alliances, stabbing each other in the back, uh, sea battles in the Mediterranean, in the English Channel, in this region and that region. And I think we're back to that. And what's happening is probably the normal politics of Europe, where you've got the leading powers, you've got these small territory countries like Lithuania, Ukraine, buffer zones, Holland, Belgium, and you've got Russia and Europe. And this game and of the power, the elites has been going on for hundreds of years, and it's resurfaced after a bit of a sleep. It's resurfaced, and the tragic thing is, thousands and thousands of people are being killed every day. People can't live in peace in none of the European countries. There's talk of conscription, funding, money for war is increasing, so that means less money for everything else. Why is this all happening? It's the DNA. The DNA of European countries and nations is one of looking at everyone as suspects, as enemies, and even this, with the poor people coming for asylum, the whole term is invasion, uh, enemy age combatants, these sort of words. Everything is seen as a competition, as a potential enemy, as something to be worried about and worried about. And the way Ukraine is rolling out, unfolding out, it's no worry, it's no surprise, sorry, that this is going the way it is. And you can see in the Middle East, there's only one place, location that has the fully European mindset. And look what it's doing there. Everything is seen as an enemy, everything is seen as worthy of taking over, everything is seen as a potential threat. Go kill, go invade, go bomb, move everything out of the way. Jazakallah khair for listening. If you got any comments or any thoughts, please leave them in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.